Hi and welcome to My Pennine Way Part 2. If you were able to watch Part 1, in that video I showed the route that I took on the Pennine Way from Edale all the way up to Middleton in Teesdale. This is Part 2 of that video, taking us all the way from Middleton in Teesdale right the way up to Kirk Yetholm in the Scottish borders. Hope it's of use to anyone that might be planning a similar trip. Anyway, here it is. We start at day 11 as we leave Middleton in Teesdale along the Tees Valley and making our way slowly back into the Pennines towards Hycupnick. So this is day 11. I'm in the Tees Valley, River Tees down below. This is High Force. So it was a very scenic and attractive route, and on this particularly nice sunny day it was great to just kick back a little bit and enjoy a spot of lunch next to the river. Well, it looks like I've arrived at Cauldron Snout. Just going to need to concentrate on where the path is. We're wandering up here, but I can see water pouring down those rocks away up there. I do not want to get off the path because it's got something of a reputation. There's this little section here, got all these boulders to get over. I've got a feeling that the path, you can see somebody way up there. I think the path must go up and over this bit. Got to get up there somehow. Well, there's no doubt that's a bit of a scramble there. Looks a bit easier up here. Well, I'm back into the Pennines again from the river valley of the Middleton in Teesdale. But it feels like I've been transported from the Pennines to some kind of People's Republic. Red flag flying. Feels like a bit of a border post of some sort, but obviously it isn't. It's the military firing ranges. Obviously not to wander off in that area, which I won't. It's been a long hard day from Middleton in Teesdale, but I finally made it to Hycupnick, and I'm very pleased to have made it in good weather. Just have a look at this for a view. So we're looking down towards the Eden Valley and the must be the Lakeland Fells beyond. So I'm just coming down from having camped at Hycupnick. There's a very strong wind this morning, very cold. but I'm heading down towards Dufton, which is the village down there. In the distance you can see the Lake District. Way over there we've got Penrith and Dufton Pike. The weather forecast isn't that great for today. It's a bit of a change in the weather. There's a weather system coming in, forecasting strong winds and rain. And unfortunately, when I get down to Dufton, the decision is whether I continue on over the highest point of the Pennine Way, which is Crossfell. So I'll see how I feel when I get down there. So I made it into Dufton. It's still dry, clouds are building up, but I reckon I'm going to give it a go, see if I can get up onto Dunfell and Crossfell, and maybe see if I can get to Greg's Bothy. I guess later on in the day it'll rain. I don't think I'll get up there in time to be dry. Just see how I get on. Maybe stop at Greg's Bothy if it's really bad. So that's Dufton behind us, and that's the way ahead. Gonna be a bit of a standoff here, I think. Come on then, come on. Come on. Hell. Oh dear me. Not good all day. There's a nice farmhouse for somebody to do up. Oh, there's a doggy there, and the farmer. So the weather's come in as expected. I'll just get the waterproofs on. I'm heading in that direction. Dunfell and then to Crossfell, hopefully. Well, I've made it to top of Dunfell in pretty atrocious conditions, and I'm heading over that way towards Crossfell. There's a path right over there. So that's me on the top of the Pennines in atrocious conditions. Typical Pennine Way weather. One day bright sunshine, the next an Atlantic weather system. So I made it successfully to Greg's Bothy. It's a dry shelter just off the back of Crossfell on the way down to Garrigill and Alston. It's been a really wet day. I've got everything in my bag that's dry on now. It's really chilly. There's a couple of other people here that are doing the Pennine Way, but thank goodness for Mountain Bothies. Fantastic place. Well, good morning. It's day 13, Friday, and just leaving Greg's Bothy, which is at the back of Crossfell, just over there. A dry, comfortable night, and now I'm heading down the track towards Alston. The weather forecast is for more rain and more unsettled weather over the weekend, so doesn't make conditions don't make it very easy really, but it's amazing how a bothy can be so well placed. Just coming down off Crossfell, just literally 20-30 minutes and you're in the bothy. It's a fantastic place. Well, that's Alston behind me and Garrigill. I'm heading down the valley down to Slaggy Ford and then towards the Roman Wall. The weather is off and on, sometimes wet, sometimes dry, and the way as usual is a bit iffy, very boggy in parts. But it has been raining non-stop for about, well, feels like about 2 days. Anyway, that's the way forward. So I've arrived at Epiacum, the Roman fort, and it was built at the same time as Hadrian's Wall in the 120s AD. So we're about 10-15 miles away from Hadrian's Wall yet, but the Roman influence is starting to show. So there it is over there. You can see the ramparts and the opening. That's how it used to look. Awesome. And nice general view because lovely elevated position here. Looking back now towards Alston, away over yonder. Nice and fresh now for walking. The way goes on over there. Just see the Solway estuary, and on the other side of Solway estuary you've got a hill called Criffel, and that's Carlisle over there. And down here towards that farm got the A69 trunk road leading from Carlisle across to Tyneside, Newcastle. And ultimately the Pennine Way goes across here and over yonder. Well, I made it to Greenhead. This is Thirlwall Castle, and just off the trail here is a little campsite. Just got all the facilities that you need. Particularly important is fresh water, and the trail continues away up there. It does leave you a bit of a long stretch to Bellingham, or Bellingham, which from here would be about 22 miles. So we'll see if we can do 22 miles tomorrow and get to Bellingham, where there's at least a couple of campsites. Anyway, I'm up on the Roman Wall now. You can see some of the earthworks, the vallum of the wall. And if I turn the camera around, a really interesting view. You've got that windsill being exposed along there with the wall going along the top of it. It's a World Heritage Site. And to the north you've got the kind of open expanse of the debatable lands, the land of the border reivers. So the next section now is along the Roman Wall, which will be interesting. A little tiny patch of forest here gives you a bit of shelter. a kind of foretaste of what's to come when you get along the wall. There's a bit more forest, but up to now it's been pretty much open, exposed moorland. And on top of the wall, the Hadrian's wall bit is quite exposed, so it's very sheltered here. Gives you a bit of respite for a couple of minutes as you pass through it. Nice to hear the bird song. There's the famous tree at Sycamore Gap. So soon after you leave Sycamore Gap and head towards Housestead's Roman fort, the Pennine Way strikes off to the north into the edges of the Kielder forest. Well, this Pennine Way, it just keeps on giving. How am I going to get around that?
Oh dear, I can see the path beyond. Oh gee, go around the corner. Detour around it, that's what people are doing. It's such a boggy route this, through the foresting parts. Ay, ay, ay. I'm past it. Yes!
Oh, lovely. Well, I've just come over the top back there, and I'm pretty sure as I head down towards Bellingham over there somewhere, way in the distance, it's my first view of the Cheviot as far as I can tell. The big lump on the skyline. I'm not sure if this camera will pick it up too well, but if that's the Cheviot, it's still a long way off. Heading over to Bellingham. Absolutely whacked. The rain is just coming on as the front that was forecast to arrive has done. Pretty bad weather coming in. Let's have a look. So I've basically walked over through those forests from Hadrian's Wall, and I'm desperate now to get down in the valley, find a campsite. So this is the start of day 15, I think, and I'm in Bellingham, in a lot better shape than I was last night when I came down into Bellingham. Stayed at the campsite just outside, which was pretty good, and was pretty shot at after walking from Greenhead. But anyway, a lot brighter morning, and you wouldn't believe that you're on the Pennine Way because you're right down by the riverside, and nice view up there towards the bridge just crossed that takes you into Bellingham. So I'm going to get stocked up, and then today's section is to Byrness or Byrness, and camping there. So we've got the Cheviot opening up. I think Byrness is over that way, and then the route tomorrow is somewhere along those hilltops. That's Cheviot over there. So all of a sudden, completely out of the blue, somebody has made a really nice path. You see it stretching away in the distance there. It makes such a difference to your ability to walk the Pennine Way, to have a path to actually walk on. You can lift your head a bit and look at the views. Stop complaining, will you? Look, there's a fallen tree. Well, here we are, part of the tent community in Byrness. So good morning, this is Tuesday the 25th of May, day I think either 16 or 17, I can't remember, and I'm on the hills above Byrness heading towards Cheviot. The weather is a little bit unsettled today, forecast to be cold, fairly windy and showery. There's about 4 people ahead of me, and they're all heading for the second mountain refuge hut. So I'm not sure what size that mountain refuge hut is, but I'm not sure if there'll be enough space for everyone. Anyway, we'll see. It's quite exposed up here, but the climbs are nice and steady. Just a gradual ascent. To the Yearning Saddle Shelter Refuge, and I'm just brewing up. The weather's been really wet actually. There's a dry spell now, and the tops have cleared, so it's looking a little bit more promising. But this shelter is an absolute godsend, if you will. Fantastic place. There is another shelter further on. I think it's about maybe another 10 miles, something like that. Just after you do Cheviot. And that's where you can maybe see 2 people wandering up there. That's where they're heading for, the second shelter. Nice paved trackway at the moment, which does help. So Windy Gyle is the hill in the distance with the cairn on top, I believe. Let's hope so. Just arrived at Windy Gyle. It's 4 o'clock. I've been going since 9. Shoe Green Roman camp in that direction, 7¼ miles, and the Shill 7 miles in that direction via Cheviot. I think you can see the Shill over there with the cairn on top of it. Anyway, this is Windy Gyle. The trig point. Somebody's left an avocado. Oh no, it's a coloured rock. How lovely. Just taking a very quick picture here. It looks like for the first time today the Cheviot is clearing. Will that last little bit of cloud move off the top? It's the clearest it's been so far, so that's a promising sign. And there it is, all of a sudden looming out of the mist, the top of the Cheviot. What a walk today's been. So it's 25 past 6 in the evening. I'm just here. I'm going to head back down towards that shelter and find somewhere to camp. Get something to eat and drink. Have a little rest here first though. So having got to the top of Cheviot, I then headed down into a valley below the mountain refuge hut and found a decent camping spot next to a stream. I camped last night down below, down in the valley there, but here is the last mountain refuge just before you go on to the last 10 miles or so into Kirk Yetholm. You get an idea of the size of it. Apparently there were 5 people in there last night, so I did make the right choice to drop down into the valley and camp. Didn't really fancy camping up here, although there is space, but it looks a bit soggy. So ordinarily in dry conditions I guess you would manage pretty well. It is a bit windy and exposed, but that's the size of the cabin. Anyway, my way goes on down there and over the last big hill. So as I approach Kirk Yetholm and the finish of the Pennine Way, I would say it's quite a difficult walk, challenging walk at times, certainly made tougher by the weather conditions if you're unlucky enough to have poor weather. But the highlights are you get to see a slice of the UK from Derbyshire right up to Scotland, from the blackstone, millstone grit edges of the Derbyshire Peak District, the limestone country of the Yorkshire Dales, right up the way to the North Pennines, and finally over the Cheviot. Some great country, but quite difficult terrain at times to walk on. The downsides for me would be it's a challenging walk, and at times the footpath is so poor, so ill-defined. You don't know whether you're stepping into a puddle or a morass, and there's too much of that. I found the condition of the path from Tan Hill onwards going north kind of deteriorated really. Obviously there's a huge Herculean effort to put those slabs down, mainly in the, I guess, Derbyshire and Yorkshire areas where they originated from, and there are sections, some really good sections across the Cheviot, but where there aren't any slabs and there hasn't been any footpath attention, and I get the feeling that there hasn't been a lot of attention to the footpaths over the recent years, maybe for obvious reasons. The trail can be very, very difficult. Anyway, here we are, arriving in Kirk Yetholm, 268 miles later. This is it, the end of the Pennine Way. I've made very welcome at the Border Hotel pub. Got my free half pint, I had a meal, signed the Pennine Way Finishers book, and also got a certificate. I then hopped on a bus and started my journey home. Please like the video if you've enjoyed it. Any comments, please put them in the space below and I'll try and answer them. And give me some encouragement by subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.